Kylie.
Kylie, yes.
Yeah, what's your age, Kylie, for TikTok?
23.
Okay, I assume you're pro-choice, right?
Oh, what a nasty assumption.
Oh, okay, excuse me. Are you pro-life?
I am.
Oh, a W.
Oh, W. I was confused by her prenatal gland. She had me thinking I was delusional. So I went and looked it up. It's actually, and I'm gonna butcher this word, thalamocortical.
Oh, what?
Yeah, cortex.
In the womb.
Oh, so.
What?
Wait, you've been saying this whole time?
Yeah, she just shot herself in the foot. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
I think she was getting the words mixed.
I said this, class. Thank you.
Fetus is developed consciousness between 24 and 26 weeks.
We actually don't know what just to be clear.
Exactly.
It's a precautionary standard. It's not an exact.
Objectives need to be detonated.
How old are you
UAV in the area.
TOS? 18. What year?
Hostile cluster mine detected.
2008.
2008. What month?
October.
That's not right. Is it?
No.
Oh, that's not right.
She'd be 17 and she'd turn 18 in October.
Exactly.
How do y'all feel about pregnant
Won that
stage?
round. Get ready for the next one.
Stitch just looks like he's full of soup. He's so cute.
Oh.
He's having what's it called? Wait, I can't say the word. It's like where there's six. It's a whole litter.
Inside.
Oh, I thought an abomination because he's an
Search and
alien.
destroy. Set a defensive
It was
perimeter
fast
around the
stage. No, it's
objective.
pregnant stage.
Well, hopefully Stitch isn't pregnant with an egg.
No, he's an alien. He has six eggs.
Yeah. Well, he better not drop one.
Enemy planted at Alpha.
It's an inside joke. I said fuck that egg.
Some people are saying the comments, so like I thought Stitch was a boy.
No, he's an intersex.
Still hot. Move fast.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, Balls, how old are you?
Because like she said, no, because he said, "Oh yeah, I'm pro-choice, but I don't want to get into it." And then all three of you are like, "Oh no."
He comes up on a panel that says, "What's the Christian stance?" He
Are you
comes up, and then he says, "I think pro-choice." Yeah.
You see the entire contention and also like the proposition or the question on the like the whole panel, right? And just stating are X and Y compatible. Like it doesn't matter if X and Y compatible.
You are saying that it's
choice. I think anyone with like some morals would support both.
Oh, but what's making you hesitate to become pro-egg?
Because it's kind of what I'm getting at. It's just even still, like I'm kind of taken back by like the just naming of like the classification because like I feel like they're both titles are like designs where like if you select one, it's obviously like an opportunity to be gaslit because you're not supporting the other thing. Because if you support choice, which is obviously like a God-given right, like you're gonna be ridiculed, and the same way it goes.
Wait, what makes choice a God-given right?
And I'm confused too. Like, I don't think this really answers my question either.
Yeah. I'm like more confused than I was before.
Like, we understand it's a choice. That's why people are pro-choice. But is that like the main reason why you're hesitant? Like, do you think that like we're taking away people's choices?
Search and destroy.
It says justify elective abortions, right?
Plant a charge
Yeah.
on the target and
Because you
level
were
it.
mentioning about choice that would be impacted by God, right? Like, we know
Oh my gosh.
I think I am pro-choice though. If you want to, yeah, because I know what both of the terms mean.
Okay, so then, like, why are you pro-choice?
Because there are obviously certain circumstances where, like, even though it's not a natural thing to kill the baby, it is probably necessary for just if we're ever going to think about things realistically.
Yeah, what are some things that
And
would be justified?
Rape or incest.
Well, in the average case of abortion, that's not what we're talking about. And besides, the host says elective abortions. I would not refer to like the extremities such as like rape, just minor, medical exceptions, etc., etc.
See, just anyone that has like,
Yeah,
if someone
elective
just
abortions.
went out to a club one night and then just got like fucked and then like had a baby.
Yeah, elective
Because
abortions.
they didn't think to have safe sex.
Yeah, elective.
Yeah, it would be obligated to that pregnancy.
Well, like everyone's taught to have safe sex so that you don't do that.
Yeah, so if everyone is taught
So now you're in the position where you're not just responsible for your own life like you were before when you had the opportunity to have safe sex. Now you're responsible for your life and the life of your
No, we're not saying that they're responsible. All we're saying is this, right? If somebody goes to the club and has a good time and they get pregnant, right? All we're saying is that they
maybe.
want to pass off that obligation once the child is born. That's fine.
Wait, so you think someone? Keep going. Sorry.
Why should women be able to unalive their children in utero?
You shouldn't. It's wrong.
Okay, so then you would be against the elective abortions? Like if we're just talking about the average case of abortion where it's two consensual adults, healthy pregnancy, and they foresaw what would be the outcome if they participated in intercourse, right? We agree that they need to take accountability, both men and women. Like the men should not leave their financial obligations and women should not have an abortion. Do you at least agree with this?
That they should not have an abortion? Yeah.
I actually want to try
okay, then yeah, you would be against elective abortions. Just to be clear, are you familiar with what the elective abortions are?
Is it just like
changing
man? Sure it's just where you're given the choice, you can do it or
yeah, where it's not like quote necessary under your criteria, and such as like once again excluding the extremities. Then yeah, you would be pro-life. I don't know why you're calling yourself because maybe they're just yeah, there's just some stance called pro-life also, where like people take the causal obligation that you cause XYZ to occur. Or I guess fix the restitutions. That would be a result of said actions, right? So that would follow the reasons.
Or you could just have a...
What do you all think people use the argument of like trying to draw a line of when it is life and when it isn't? Yeah, I believe the same. Even if there was some sort of real distinction, you know exactly what you're stopping from happening by the abortion.
True.
You know exactly what happened. Obviously, or something like that. And you know exactly what is going to happen if you don't keep the abortion. You're that's not happening. So I think the whole once sort of bullshit is just like super useless conversation. Try to get something over on someone else. It's like really not.
I agree and disagree. I think definitions are definitely important whenever we're trying to distinguish sort of more valuable, especially for human lives. There are some people that would definitely devalue fetus just because it doesn't force their preferences like personhood. Like fetus doesn't qualify as their material personhood.
I mean, extent, but you have to be real about it and think about it. On a broader sense, I think, like, you know exactly what happened with that. With all the other fetuses like that, give it like 4 months.
Well, yeah, I agree. I think that, like, people try to dehumanize humans overall. They would definitely use semantics that would just adhere towards their preferences. Like, even if it's like, what you call it, in the past, in America, during slavery, they would only grant like 3/5 of personhood. So even if it was outside, it would still be like deemed as, I guess, not entirely human and or person. That's just going to be more semantics to which obviously you and I disagree with. I mean, those are options.
Commit a crime against a woman that was pregnant during her stage. That crime or to kill both her and the baby, you would treat it as 2 killings instead of 1. Like, it would mean more that she was pregnant at that stage.
I agree. You can definitely test that criteria. One last topic, one last comment before we move on to the next guest, because I don't think you and I have any more
Check your fire.
You can definitely test this criteria. The one scenario I always like to play out is if, like, let's say a woman is running towards safety, or like a neighboring country war. And some rebels then encounter her. They get their blickies, unload the clip, and the autopsy reveals that she was pregnant. Like, even if it was going to be like 6 weeks long versus like 8 weeks long, which is still considered like a double unaliving or single. And then some people would, unfortunately, unfortunately, that parents are ill. So you can definitely pull that out. Yeah, I think we're pro-life. And we will continue to the next guest. All right. God bless. Balls.
I was like personally attacking.
You were personally attacking?
I was attacking his position.
What's age?
Okay, what's her age?
Hello, I'm 23.
Are you pro-life or pro-choice?
I think I'm more pro-choice, but there's certain circumstances. Like,
Okay.
And they're going against the word of God. You do know that's
so with the keeping your legs closed, I do definitely think that people shouldn't have sex if they're not educated enough. I do definitely think that there is chances that mistakes happen, but, you know, you have to be willing to take that choice. I just don't like people who know and do something and then, like, whine about the action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The result.
Well, I guess I'm more curious as to, like, in what instances, because I can disagree with all of that. But, like, in what instances are you saying that it's okay to, like, unallow the child?
So, being a woman, I definitely advocate a lot for women, and men too, but unfortunately men can't get pregnant. But the thing for me personally is, let's say, like, if a woman is assaulted and they don't want to take on that bearing that trauma, because technically it's not the woman's fault, they should have a right to terminate a pregnancy.
Well, on the background, it says justify elective abortion. So, like, I mean, I would disagree with that personally, but I don't think Misty allows those conversations up here. But, like, do you have any justification for the 97% of abortions that aren't due to rape, you know, incest, medical?
Can you elaborate? Sorry.
Yeah, so, like, we would just, like, up on the panel, we wouldn't want to talk about, like, the graping, the medical necessities, the incest, because those aren't elective abortions. Elective abortions are going to be like, oh, I didn't have so much money today, so I decided to get an abortion because I can't afford a child. Like, we're talking about the 97% of abortions that are excluding rape, incest, and life of the mother.
Okay, well then, if people are just aborting to abort, no, I do not agree with that.
Okay, so you'll just be pro-life with exceptions then.
Yes.
Okay, so like you wouldn't engage outlawing 97% of the abortions.
No, as long as like what we said, like the certain circumstances that I believe in. But if like I said, if you're just getting an abortion because you can't afford it, I mean that's something that you have to deal with because you made a choice.
Yeah.
I definitely agree that people need to be a lot more smarter, and you shouldn't just get an abortion because you're being smart. You know.
Yeah. Like I said, I agree to all that. I would disagree with the whole rape exception. Incest. I mean, I would just disagree with those stuff. I don't think that Missy wants to help.
Stitch, we're not going to debate her. For example, because I'm not debating her on it. Say, what would you say if I told you that we have empirical psychological studies that have been done? There was one that was done last year in Canada that found after having these courts, whatever cause it was, and they had way higher chances of psychological trauma and damage and substance abuse and unalive of themselves than if they trauma expect better outcomes. And then also I would ask you, why does the baby the baby didn't fall?
Right. To a certain extent, and I do definitely think that there is a lot of psychological trauma that comes in because once you get pregnant, your hormones change, and you can feel one way when your body's feeling another way. And then I know a lot of women feel really guilty afterwards, even if they don't want the child.
There's a lot of women that actually recover better from the SA by having the child because they get the bond that only gives them purpose. It just helps them to see that regardless of how the baby was born, it's still their child in the
Right. I guess you did come to change my viewpoint on that.
And I would say the underage children, because whether it's Catholic or not, it's still SA. Whether it's underage children, it's still SA because they cannot consent. It's even worse when you're talking about young children because they're not helpful enough to understand the long-term consequences to these actions. So it's parents to help them to make the right choice, which is their grandchildren. And that's why it's even worse for a young child versus an older baby that's an adult.
Yeah, more than stuff like that. A lot of those women as well, the parents are extremely angry at them and they're supportive. So how do you think to be better at supporting your children and making a certain choice like this?
Well, I would say that some of it, every case is different. I would say sometimes it goes. There's big statistics on this that teenagers get in this mentality where they don't the parent, and they will against the parents because they think, it's having fun. It's okay to be bad because I'm having fun. And they don't understand the long-term consequences of those behaviors. So then when they do those acts, the parents are like, well, you played adult games, now you're going to have to pay adult prices. And so sometimes, that's the way that some parents are. They give their kids tough. Now I'm not saying that needs to be handled in all cases, in all scenarios. I'm just saying that's the reason why some parents are that way with their children. They're like, I told you before you went out and did what you did. Now you chose to do something different, but now you're going to have to be a victor and take the responsibility.
Changing that.
Because that's really what it comes down to. Because I heard you. They mentioned about we should have more education and helping people. You can give people education for their beliefs. That's not going to make them be responsible and accountable for their actions. If they want to do this act, have a lust
Yeah, that's like, I guess I could have said it a different way because you're right. Like, teenagers.
Your E is another reason for. Replicate or prove the existence of a mitochondria eating a ribosome, then we cannot prove the existence of evolution. I'm just, it's the first step, it's the most important step.
Look, how is abortion pro-choice or pro-life when cells start regenerating at the moment of conception? Like, how are we even having that discussion? You guys understand? Like, abortion is abortion. And,
well, I mean, it's more.
I don't think Jesus would have liked that a lot.
Right, and that's the reason why myself and a few others are not. Oh, well, keep going.
There's a new dude. Black. What's going on?
Oh, protect the voices. No.
Hello. Anyone come to learn? Anyone come to learn that Mother Mary is sinless, or any other doctrines?
No, bro.
I made a mistake. Mary was not ascended into heaven without experiencing physical death, so I made a misinterpretation. But my bad.
Yeah, Mary died.
Yeah. We have that in our catechism. It was misinterpreted. So, yeah, that's my wife's fault for saying that.
Yeah. So you know that that textual criticism. So this is a textual criticism joke for anyone who's familiar with textual criticism. So this is more so for the EOs and the Catholics to kind of understand the historicity. But anyway, so there were some monks that were going through the records because they were one thing and updated like syllabus or like a creed and things like that. And I forget what the head monk is called, but he commissions one of the guys to go through the records and just make sure everything's copacetic. So he's going through the records and going through the records to make sure that everything that they currently have is copacetic. And he finally gets to one record, one manuscript. And he's like, "Oh my goodness, we had it wrong. It says celebrate."
I'm going to pretend I knew what that meant, because I don't.
So the joke is monks are called to be celibate.
Oh, I get it, yeah. I can kind of get it.
Textual criticism? Okay.
Yeah. I don't see stand-up in your...
I'll be here all week.
Oh, poor AJ.
I don't see stand-up in your future anytime soon.
Who are you?
I guess, yeah, no. I was about to say something like, nah, I don't want to hurt Tech's feelings.
Oh, Jacob, fellow Catholic, hello and welcome.
Fellow Catholic, just want to come up real quick to say this guy attacks boils up with me every night.
I wouldn't put it like that, but...
No. We do some late night wrestling.
I think it's like some Call of Duty talk he's talking about, something like that, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Call of Duty I play is
hold on. This explains a lot. This really does explain the reason why Catholics are not a fan of God's law. Because the oiling up and the wrestling of two dudes, that's kind of gamma eta. And if God's law were to be established, they'd be stoned with stones if they were found out by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses.
I mean,
we should live in a theocracy.
I mean, you can throw stones at me, but I'm an earthbender, so I'd be careful about that.
Yeah, he'd be good. Yeah, he can deflect them.
Yeah.
I think the idea of living in a theocracy...
Oh, yeah, if he rolls like a nat 20 on a d20.
Yeah. Well, to answer your question, a Catholic theocracy would be better.
Does someone agree with me on this? Living in a theocracy is inherently evil and unfair to people because of free will.
Oh, wait.
Well, actually,
so,
no, not evil. Let me
what do you
understand.
mean by free will?
Evil. Okay, so we have free will.
The round is lost. Focus on
What do you mean by free will?
I do not like losing, friend.
Free God. Yeah, free will.
Okay, can we do something that is contrary to our nature?
Switching sides.
To what our nature can you like?
Yeah, so in and of ourselves, can we do something that is contrary to our nature?
So like expected that we would do.
So we have a natural condition about us. We are sinners by nature, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So can we love God in and of ourselves, absent of God working? Absent of God initiating, and absent of God decreeing?
Round secure. On to the next.
Guess not.
And I thought we had free will.
But that relies on metaphysical logic, which doesn't.
Or are you okay? So you're not talking about free will concerning salvific, salvifically. But you're talking about like free will in regard to like certain actions that we do.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So you don't think that there should be consequences?
Stand by.
No, I'm saying people have free will.
Bomb planted.
Yeah,
Containment.
but there should be consequences for doing certain things, correct?
Yeah, I didn't say there shouldn't be. There's people that have argued with me that there is no free will whatsoever. I'm like, what?
Well, there's free will in the sense that we are bound by our nature.
You should speak to the Calvinists about that.
You've won that round. Get ready for the next one.
So
I didn't mean to.
Right. No, you're fine. So then when it comes to theocracy, I would argue that we are currently underneath a theocracy. It's just a false god that we are underneath. So, yeah, so we are underneath the theocracy of a demonymos.
Let your guard down.
So demos, meaning the people, and nomos, law, the people's law.
So like popular sovereignty or democracy?
Yeah, or demonomy. So we are underneath a theocracy, whereas the people are God. Yeah, so I don't want to be underneath the theocracy that we're under right now. I want to be underneath the proper theocracy that is of God's law. So let me ask you, you agree that there should be punishments for certain actions. How does one know what a righteous punishment is?
If it says it in the Bible, I agree, I guess.
Moving this way.
Okay, then God's law. Let's establish it. There you go.
I'm just saying. Sorry. Let me. Read things, I guess. Okay. So
and let me add this real quick as well. Underneath the theocracy, it is already baked in that you are not to add to or take away, as it says in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 2. You're not to add to or take away from God's law. So it's not a mixture of what we currently have. No, it's actually a stripping away of what we currently have and having God's law in place. Since God is the only lawgiver, as we see in James 4.
Friendly UAV on station.
Now you follow the church.
No, that's an ecclesiocracy, my guy. No. That ran and failed and went into the pit of hell where it belongs.
If you follow the church, I think the Pope would be the president, and you follow.
Get out of town. No.
Dude,
the church
Protect isn't even Catholic, by the way.
Not yet, but I think that
not legally. No.
The Pope would be the president, and we would adhere to Rome's
Okay,
rules.
stop trolling. You're wasting time, my guy. So let's be serious. So you understand what I'm saying, Thomas?
Yeah. Okay, so as like in the Christian theocracy, it doesn't say to like slay the atheists, right? They're allowed to live, but they have to follow.
So you have to obey the law of the land, which would be God's law. So if you break the law, then there's going to be an earthly punishment that is going to be sanctioned by the magistrates. So if someone walks up to me and says, "Hey, I'm an atheist," okay, cool. God bless. Go in peace. Repent. Trust in Christ. Now, if they start like publicly propagating and trying to lead people after another god, leading people astray, then that would be an offense. And upon the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, and if they are found guilty, then stoned. Yeah.
But if we like, I guess it's bad. But if we were like switched to a theocracy, like, I guess I wouldn't really have it. I mean, hypothetically, if you were just switched to like a theocracy, like randomly, like some dude, I guess. Just that's wrong. Okay, I guess. Okay. Jesus comes back, right? And
there wouldn't be a need for a theocracy upon Jesus, upon the return of Christ.
Hypothetical. I know this will not happen because of what it says in Revelation. Alright? Just hypothetically. But like, what would that do? Would that not do something?
Search and destroy.
Like, lost my
plant a charge on the target and level. You've secured the
device.
Yeah, you found.
Okay, I think it's like, I think I was saying, would it not be unfair for like an atheist in that moment? Right?
What do you mean unfair?
Okay, because like, I thought like in a theocracy, you're supposed to follow what it tells you, right?
You're supposed to obey the law, so there's going to be crime. Yeah, there's going to be certain things that are going to be labeled as a crime, and they're going to be punished by the magistrates. But simply, like,
you had to believe in a God that isn't theocracy.
No.
Really?
No. So in a theocracy, you can be an atheist living in a nation that is predominantly Christian. It's just that you cannot propagate your stance and preach your view and lead people away.
We're planting a Bravo.
And if you do, then testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, and if you're found guilty, then the witnesses cast the first stone.
Yeah, sorry.
So we can see in God's law the distinction between things that are just only sins and things that are crime as well. Because within God's law, there are things that are crime.
Device in place. Countdown started.
But not everything that is a sin is a crime. So, though it is sinful to be an atheist, it would not be a crime in and of itself to be an atheist. Within a theocracy.
I was just freaking told incorrectly. Yeah, that's just not it. I was told by a teacher years back. Like 14 years.
Yeah, that teacher be wrong. So great book on this, like an introductory on theonomy, would be Kenneth Gentry. God's Law Made Easy.
Search and destroy.
We're just
move in and detonate the target.
Go check that out.
I would drop Thomas. I would drop us a follow because we do this every day. So, all right, awesome. But I'm gonna end the live. I'm super tired, but
yeah, not a good look on you.
I'll talk to you guys later, and God bless. Do this every day.
Doesn't provide any value towards the discussion or towards the evidence that you're trying to demonstrate. That's why for the source. Get in mind, right? Embryo to Adolescence by Rob Abbott and Esther Burkett, and these are actual they're not only biologists, right? They actually incorporate other scientists, right, that go through that have studied specific fields within the embryonic development. So again, when you sit here and you say, well, I have the Mayo Clinic and therefore I'm correct. Well, I'm sorry, but the Mayo Clinic says it's okay for children to take testosterone and estrogen and spirulactone, all of the things that I would be against medically. So no, I don't think that just because you name a clinic that you're absolutely correct.
Well, you are telling something that's going against every bit of information that I can find online.
Wonderful, Thaddeus, but you have no source. Wonderful.
Let me finish.
Can you list your source?
Cleveland Clinic, all these people, they're saying something totally against what they say.
10 seconds remaining.
Oops, the host took him down.
I just saw this episode.
The round is lost. Focus on the next one. Switching sides.
Mom, the professor has now read the letter.
Search and destroy.
So there's still hope? Yes. We've got to get this jacket to the dry cleaner.
Set up security around the objectives.
Versus all live births in Quebec, Canada over a 10-year time span.
Okay, Rose, how
These women, and they found that regardless of the situation, indication, socioeconomic status, support system, their educational background, history of mental health, history of drug abuse, it didn't matter what situation they considered for. Women were more likely to end up hospitalized inpatient for a psychiatric mental health emergency if they had an abortion versus live birth. They were more likely to end up with drug addiction issues if they had an abortion versus live birth, and they were more likely to end up self-unaliving, at least attempting to, if they had an abortion versus live birth. And this was increased threefold if you were 25 years or younger. So when we talk about the coping mechanism long term, surely yes, having a stillbirth is an awful process. I don't wish that on my worst enemy. It is a heartbreaking thing, but having your child tangible and in front of you to be able to, and that's why we have like the cots and whatnot in hospitals so that you can cope and you can bond. And we also have neonatal palliative care so that we can, if baby is born alive unexpectedly, we can give comfort measures to baby so that while they are with mom and dad after delivery, they know comfort, not pain, and this can help them with the coping process long term once baby does eventually pass.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Something I definitely want to look into for sure.
Alrighty. Chloe, while you're up here, are there any other questions you want to ask or anything else you want to talk about?
No, not really. But I really appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, thanks for coming up and being respectful.
You can drop me, Kat. I just came up because she was talking about clinical.
Okay.
Friendly UAV online.
If I don't see you again, Ash, have a good night.
Good night, Ash. Oh, okay.
Alright, Test, can I get your age, please? And are you pro-life or pro-choice?
Pro-life.
Alright, do you give any exceptions, or...?
Only real exception I would give probably incest, but I think that's about it.
I gotcha. Ghosty, can I get your age, please?
19.
And what year were you born?
2006.
And what month?
May.
Okay, are you pro-life or pro-choice?
Pro-life.
Do you give any exceptions?
Very few.
What would those be?
Kind of similar, like incest. Very, very, very few cases of rape. Definitely feel like circumstantial is very important in that.
You should still
but
be
it's all
dead.
like for the most part, I fully I'm borderline abolitionist, but not all the way there.
Focus on the next one.
Gotcha. So out of curiosity, I mean, what would be the circumstance in which rape makes abortion okay?
I do think, I don't know, I've had some friends who've gone through it, and knowing them,
it would be, I guess it's more of like a personal standpoint of the people I know.
Only 22.
But like, it's more
That
for
was
the
like
people who
3
don't have the
shots.
support to get through the pregnancy, which again is very rare. There's like a lot of outreach programs now, and I know a lot of like churches will back mothers in those conditions. So it is, again, very rare cases of rape. So like more like girls who've been kicked out, who have no other place to go, who genuinely like can't find support anywhere, is like the one example.
Alright, well, while you're up here, any questions you want to ask or anything you want to talk about?
It was kind of something based on what Dr. Ash was talking about in the sense of like quality versus like quality of life. And I guess you probably know, or like you will have opinions about it too, but just out of curiosity, like when I think people do like prenatal testing and seeing if like babies with birth defects, like what's your opinion on, you know, the process of aborting babies just because they have Down syndrome or will have, you know, like a heart defect or even anemia, like things like that?
Yeah, I don't support eugenics. We've seen how that plays out in a lot of different places, most notably the Mustache Man in Germany. Eugenics never works out well.
We're planting at Alpha.
I'm just going to throw it out there that is kind of crazy that you would eliminate like unwanted characteristics that were detrimental to people.
Yeah, so unfortunately we don't determine someone's value just because we think they might not be happy or they might suffer a little bit. It's just a life that's worth living.
We also really.
Hey, could I talk to Backpack? Because he was pretty outspoken in his comments.
Hey, what's up, Backpack? Can I get your age real quick? Yeah, what's up, Dom? Backpack, there.
Yeah, I didn't hear what you said.
It's our choice. Make it. Yeah, go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, so just before we get into that, I just want to say, you said that like taking away someone's choice is going to be totalitarian, right? Like, so would you say that that's true of every restriction implemented within our constitutional republic?
Every time that you decide to take away a choice, you have to enforce that choice to be taken away.
Okay, so you would say that every restriction imposed by the constitutional republic of the U.S. is totalitarian, correct?
Generally speaking, we have to have rules to function in society, but that doesn't mean that we need to have in place rules that would determine whether or not someone chooses to follow them.
Okay, but you would say then it's still totalitarian. That's an answer to my question. It's yes or no. Every restriction then would be totalitarian, correct?
It leads towards a totalitarian regime. Everything that is a choice that is inherently restrictive would be totalitarian.
Okay, I'm glad that we've established that. Okay, so again, what's the argument for the pro-choice conclusion?
So my logic here is that if you're going, I don't believe people are genuinely abolitionists or anti-abortion unless they plan on actually using force to make a mother deliver a baby.
That doesn't tell me what your argument is that supports the conclusion that it's morally permissible to kill human beings in utero. We're talking in a normative ethical sense, so we're going to be dealing with morals, not legality, and we're talking about...
My argument for that is if a mother decides to unalive herself, she has the right to do so.
What? What does that have to do with the pro-choice conclusion?
Well, that means that if she decides that she wants to do that she has the right to, which means that she's also unaliving that child.
Okay, first of all, you know that's not an argument for like the pro-choice view, like in the holistic sense. You do realize that
I believe in freedom of choice. That's my argument.
Okay, and in all capacities, you believe that it would be I have freedom of choice, like say walk down the street and grape cat milk. You believe?
You do have that choice. You're not free from the consequences of said choice.
Okay, so you believe that any choice is morally permissible, and that I should just be subject to the consequence?
I mean, yes, because if you have the ability to do so, then you would have to suffer the consequences that are rendered from that choice, but the choice itself is not necessarily like
good or bad,
immutable.
Do you think that choice, like my decisions, can be morally good or morally bad?
No, because generally speaking, they're subjective.
Okay, what's the argument that morality is subjective?
Can you give me one that it shows that it's objective?
That's a burden shift. What's the argument that morality in totality is subjective and not objective?
Morality as a general rule versus incorrect.
That's not an argument for the subjectivity of morality.
It is, because correct versus incorrect is either one or two, whereas good or evil is a variance.
I don't know why you can't cover the words that I'm saying. I said 1 second 5 times and you kept yapping. So backpack. Just out of curiosity, and then I'll let you guys get back to your conversation. Do you know what it means to substantiate something?
I was in the process of substantiating it until
It's a yes or no question.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a yes or no. There's always one.
1 minute remaining.
That's not true at all. Look here.
Okay, so I'm going to ask one more thing. Do you know what it means to substantiate something?
What are you asking me to substantiate?
I'm not asking you to substantiate anything right now.
Subjective.
Hold on. I'm asking if you know what it means to substantiate something.
It means to prove it by showing substance in the argument itself.
Okay. I mean, there's that, but are you able to do
30 seconds remaining.
Yes, I just explained that there are two different methods of looking at this. Morality is a made-up set of preferences. Those preferences are either good or quote-unquote evil or bad, depending on whatever you subscribe to. But they are a sliding scale of what will work. There is a difference between that and what is good and bad in the sense of something like a good door. A good door.
Round secure. On to the next.
Semantics to the definitions of words, because words are subjective. There are multiple definitions for words, but in the case of good or bad, right or wrong,
search and destroy.
Right? What is the argument that morality in totality is subjective and not mind independent?
Because if it were truly functional, then it would have a good or a bad definitive.
Do you think that there's... Wait a minute. Do you think that what you're saying all of a sudden negates that there can be a good or bad definitively? Do you think that the practice of individuals, regardless of whether they adhere or don't adhere to some sort of objective moral system, negates the existence of an objective moral system?
Yes, because those are just preferences for that individual.
That's literally so stupid. I don't even know where to begin. Okay? I don't even know where to begin on that. That's just going to be a huge blunder, number one.
Man, it sounds like you don't have a rebuttal.
No, you haven't substantiated your claim that morality is subjective. You think, well, because people do things differently. Hey, man, if I walk into a room with you and I'm holding a fork behind my back and you don't see it, is it there?
Of course it's there.
Okay, cool. So then it's almost like something's existence isn't contingent on your perception of it?
Well, again, I don't know it's there. It is objectively there, but only because you know that it's there.
Right. No, it's objectively there regardless,
there,
right?
Wait.
You just conceded. Thank you.
Wait. Hold on. Backpack, did you just...
He just conceded it, yeah.
Wait, no, there's that, but I don't know if y'all caught that. He just said it's only there because you know it's there. I'm sorry. If the fork was like, let's say the fork's in a drawer, and actually nobody knows that the fork is in the drawer, is the fork not in the drawer because nobody knows it's there?
We don't know that it's there, so we don't actually know. That would be like saying Schroeder.
No, so I'm saying objectively, I'm saying
we
objectively,
don't know that, because
I'm saying objectively, us as the viewers of this hypothetical, we know objectively the fork is in the drawer. Okay, but nobody in the hypothetical, like in this hypothetical world that I'm describing, nobody in this world knows that the fork is in the drawer. Does that mean the fork isn't in the drawer?
For the people who are actually experiencing that, no.
Holy, this guy is so stupid. That's crazy. Hey, man, so do you think, you clearly think that something's existence within space-time is predicated on someone's knowledge of it being there?
If we don't observe it, we wouldn't know that it's there, right?
It doesn't matter if we know that it's there. I'm asking if it exists, yes or no.
Again, no, we wouldn't know that it exists because
it doesn't matter if we know, Logan. I'm asking if it exists, yes or no. So before we knew that Pluto existed, was it not in space?
Again, we didn't know it was there. So
it doesn't matter if we didn't know it was there. I'm asking if it exists independently of us.
Again, if you can't perceive it, does it exist?
This person is so stupid. Hey, man, so Mars, we didn't know that Mars was there for like however many millennia.
So I guess Mars just didn't exist, right?
Something. If you
Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and mute your mic, yeah, because you're too stupid. Again, does that mean that it doesn't exist? Does that mean that it doesn't exist? Your lack of knowledge on something means that it doesn't exist.
and you know something exists.
This guy's literally just that's just a straw man of the whole thing. What? Or rather, it's just a terrible question. I should just say,
Yeah, I think you're getting away from the fact that you don't like having a
you don't have an argument. You've never been able to substantiate. Yo, low tier. Hey, low tier. You've never been able to substantiate the existence of subjective morality and the negation of objective morality. And now you just so foolishly just demonstrated this entire panel and the viewers.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That you think that someone's epistemic foundations for something.
See, this is what I'm talking about. You're either going to mute me by taking away my choice.
You're so dumb that you think that if you have to know something exists for it to exist. That's crazy. This guy doesn't understand mind-independent notions. He thinks that if you don't know Mercury's there, it's not there. This guy thinks if we don't know Mercury's there, it's not there.
Let's ask him.
If we don't know the sun is there, it's not there.
Well, let's ask him. Let's ask him. Let's say tomorrow humanity goes extinct. Do you think the sun will stop existing?
Yeah. Do you think that the sun would exist if all of us died tomorrow?
We existed prior to the sun being gone from our knowledge of our existence.
Yeah, once we're all gone, bro. Once we're all gone, is the sun still going to exist? Yes or no?
We don't know that.
Holy shit, this guy's too. Hey, how would you feel if you
Hold on. What's the other question?
So, I'm really curious on your opinion on dinosaurs. Because we have clear proof that they existed long before anyone knew they were around.
The enemy defused our bomb.
So, by your logic,
focus on the next one.
The dinosaurs didn't exist for the first, 1,000 or 2 years of humanity.
Well, that would either debunk his position. Like, it's if it clearly existed before humans, therefore it's not subjective. It's objective.
Yeah, can we flag this, that this guy thinks that anything's existence within space, time, and physical reality is predicated on someone's knowledge of it existing? Can we, flag this or what? This is an absurdity.
Yeah, it's not an absurdity. We know
it's an absurdity. You have the IQ.
We know that
troglodyte. Yo, capable. You speak what you say. Troglodyte. Here's going to be the last question. Since this guy is so stupid.
That's totalitarian.
Since this guy is so dumb.
We don't want anyone to speak.
You couldn't answer the question. You couldn't answer the question. You never gave an argument.
So
I can't.
Never gave an argument.
So you don't allow me to speak.
Okay.
I can't give it.
No, I'm sorry. I'm trying to talk to Jacob, and you keep unmuting and speaking. So Jacob, I don't know if you're aware of this. You are one of my mods. You have access to live recordings. So if you want to clip that and post it, you have every right. I am totally cool with that.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to, for everybody else in here, even if you're pro-choice, I hope nobody agrees with the notion that your knowledge of something existing or not existing, that's what determines it. Just how absurd is that?
Search and destroy.
Yeah, I'm actually so glad I caught that. That was the funniest shit I've heard. Maybe in my 3 years of doing this, I don't know.
We're also talking about the concrete. So what was going to happen when I asked the next big question of how do you know that rights exist? Because they're metaphysical. What's the argument that rights exist? Granted that they're abstract. Oh, I don't have an argument that rights exist. They just do.
Yeah. Anyways, let me introduce a couple of new guests we have here.
Target restriction.
Okay, can I get your age, please? And are you pro-life or pro-choice?
I'm pro-life.
You give any exceptions?
No, if I'm going to be honest. And the main exception that people bring up is rape, and I think that there are plenty of good things that come out of really horrible things.
Yeah, I agree. Forrest, can I get your age, please?
Enemy planted at Alpha.
Hello, I am 31, and I am pro-choice.
Enemy marked.
Hey, do you have any contentions with the comp?
I'm the builder of one shot for a reason.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we don't need you to read it out loud.
Yeah, well, I'm just, okay, I didn't even look at it. I'm sorry, I've never been in the lab before.
Okay.
Yeah, I have, problems with all of those, but I'm willing to, talk about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're here for. So let's start with the first one. I'm assuming if you have problems with all of them, you would say that abortion is a right?
Well, it's not something. First of all, number one, it wouldn't be up to me to find that or have too much of an opinion because I'm not a female. It's not my body. I was. My mom had multiple abortions before she had me, and I was the first born for her.
Really?
Wow. So it's not my place.
Look, dude. First off, anecdotes, we don't need those. Right? I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I don't really care if your mother had abortions or not. As far as like you being a man and whether or not you feel like you have the right to talk about it, like
sure,
you absolutely have the right to talk about it. We have this thing called freedom of speech. Also, this is my panel. I'm telling you, you can talk about it here. If you still feel like you don't have the right to talk about it, then I mean this is respectful.
Oh, hey, look, dude,
but if you don't want to talk about it, then you don't need to be up here, you know? So
I came up here. Yeah, I came up here to want to talk about it. So
okay.
No, but there's a differentiation. Those that might actually have to play by the law, which doesn't really relate to me.
Hey, Forrest, quick question. How do you feel if you've got a woman pregnant and they unalive your child?
So that's happened. And
okay, so how do you feel?
I was.
Feel that you didn't have no right?
I think I was 17, going on 18, and I didn't have a say-so at the time, and it was what it was. And I was not in a place to really take care of the child or myself.
Setting device on Bravo. So what's the difference if, let's say, that child was born and then somebody unalived it?
Well, if a child is born and unalived it, that's murder.
So is this. So why is it changing your stance? Why does the location matter?
Well, there's birth, and then there's before birth. So
this still doesn't answer my question. Why does the location matter?
Location meaning out of the womb versus not? So I would say that's birth versus not birth.
Okay, but that's still your child.
No, it's in the womb. It's connected to a tube in the woman's uterus.
Is that descriptively true, but it's still your child? So it doesn't matter if you're born or not born.
We get way too off topic. I want to try and keep it to the point. And I'm sorry, y'all are starting to talk over.
Won that round. Get ready for the next one.
It's first word of the problem. First, I'm assuming you would say that abortion is a severe problem with
correct, yes.
Switch his sides.
Is this going to be a legal right or a moral right?
Search and destroy. Set up security around the objective.
If I'm being honest, right? So legally, morally, I mean, are we saying religions or religious?
Let's start with legal. Let's going to figure out pretty quickly.
So then legally, scientifically proven that we can just call it abortion. Abortion is necessary. We can call it circumstantial. So say that it can be a decision of a female that needs to make that decision.
It's not what I'm asking. I'm just asking. Okay. So legally and morally is a right. So can you tell me where that right comes from legally? As far as I know, in our Constitution, it gives us things like the right to freedom of speech, the right to privacy, the right to practice religion, etc., etc. I've looked through all of our rights in the Constitution, and none of them say you can kill your child. Which right would that be?
It would not necessarily be in the Constitution, other than the things in the Constitution refer to things like any kind of
medical reasoning behind someone's decision. That is the right of a person. I'm not saying that's necessarily listed like that, especially in the Constitution. I would say, though, in terms of from a medical standpoint, the right to one's own bodily autonomy and decision made about oneself is not for others to be decided. And that's what in the Constitution differentiation between church and state is.
Yes, so first off, we read all of our rights from the Constitution, at least in America. Right? So if it's not in the Constitution as a right, then it's not a right legally.
Search and destroy.
Secondly, bodily autonomy.
That's not 100% true.
Let me just finish responding to what you said. So, bodily autonomy also is not a legal right, that would be a moral right, and even in that situation I wouldn't say it's a right because we restrict people's bodily autonomy all the time. And the last point I wanted to address is healthcare isn't a right. I don't know if that's exactly what you were trying to say, but you don't have a right to go and get healthcare. That is.
So I agree with a lot of what you just said. Healthcare is not a right. I think it should, but I don't think it's definitely not. When it comes to separation of church and state, is that not in the Constitution?
No, it's not. It's not.
Is that correct?
No, it's not. It's a letter from Thomas Jefferson to the Dansbury Baptist Church.
So it's not a part of the Constitution?
No. That phrase is very misinterpreted. It's not in the Constitution.
So is it a law?
No.
Separation of church and state? It's not a law, nor is it a part of the Constitution.
No, it's from a letter.
Just to clarify as well, when they were talking about separation of church and state, they were talking about the fact that the government should not infringe on what the churches are doing, unless, of course, it's unlawful in some way. It's not saying that religion should have no part in our country or like in our laws.
So, and listen, I'm not going to even pretend like I'm 100% well informed on the topic, but I can tell you that I'm pretty certain, and I would love somebody with a computer to fact check it, that there is absolutely, I don't know if it's in the Constitution, I know it's a law, there is no question about that. There is a separation of churches, no question at all. And I believe it's also in the Constitution.
Well, here, instead of like this back and forth where we're telling you it's not in the Constitution and you're telling us, you're certain that it is, how about you just provide a source?
I mean, I already explained that the phrase is not in the Constitution. It's from Thomas Jefferson, a letter to the Dansbury Baptist.
Yeah, and just, Forrest, you did say it's your first time on live. We can't hear you when you're out of the app. I'm not saying you have to come back right away. Take your time. Do whatever you need to. But when you're looking stuff up, we can't hear you.
But there's also there's a separation.
Yeah, there's that.
Just plain speaking, the separation of church and state specifically deals with Congress not establishing official state religion and free exercise of religion, both of which we do have. But most people understand separation of church and state to be, which is not the actual intention. In Sharia, we do have currency, it is separation. So
it is accepted by the law that is, in fact, in the law. That is part of our judicial system.
Just give us a source.
Right now, it's just Google, honestly. But it is not in the Constitution, which I just want to school, my father's aware, like, I grew up with. Of course, that makes sense. And it's not in law.
it is a thing, and that's why they just abolished the fact that the concept of that was just, I think that was a crisis.
That was not.
It's also not
Well, that wasn't always the case. That wasn't always the case because in the previous case law, right, the Ten Commandments were in public schools. It didn't violate the Constitution. I forget what.
Because
No.
I would ask you.
Yeah, it was. I forget the Supreme. I forget the Supreme Court decision. It was like in the 40s, but there was a Supreme Court decision where the First Amendment applied to the federal government, but individual states could do that. So they could do this with the Ten Commandments in public schools if the states.
It was just. This is my point. Really quick, sorry. It's like keep going, comments.
Just so you guys know, it's gonna be like 10 or 15 more minutes down the live. I want to make some food for you guys, so keep it running. Later, I'm gonna end the live because I'm sleeping. I'm gonna be able to make 8 hours for
I'll say to Taylor and Caleb comments. So yeah, one, I can't remember what's on. You're engaged in these, we're looking up talking about number two, since they're talking about it in the legal sense, okay? Sure, I can grant that there's some credence to the notion of bodily autonomy, right? But it's not absolute. We impose restrictions on even the legal notion of bodily autonomy. You're not allowed to personally exercise your being indiscriminately, right? Such as with, murder, theft, rape, right? They're impositions of this supposed right. Now, I'm talking about it in the moral sense, but if you want to talk about it in the legal sense, this will also not go well. I love that. I know. I just want to know that with
Securing objective. Objective Bravo.
Wait, there's actually 2 women on the panel, actually.
Okay. I didn't ask a question, I just was saying.
What's the relevancy? Like,
it's like, I don't know about Kai, but I feel like Jacob was handling that pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, the women are obviously valued, right? But at the end of the day, why would that matter? Whether it was all men, all women, a mixture, right? It could be homogenous, heterogeneous, it doesn't matter.
Are we not talking about female rights right now?
No, we're talking
Wait, I'm sorry. Kai just said yes. Jacob, what are you talking about?
That was me, but in the sense of it takes a man and a female to make a child.
Okay, but it's in your body, and it's your decision to make a decision about whether or not you.
No, I strongly believe the father who contributed 50% of his DNA, and I contributed my 50%. We get equal says in what happens to the child.
What if you were raped?
Even if I was raped, I would still carry that child the full term.
Jeez, that's crazy. But okay, I mean, look, I understand.
Forrest, there are arguments against the exception, but even in the case of rape.
1 second. Forrest, do me a huge favor, stick around until I get done making my food. I would like to give you some very valuable information.
I guess so. Yeah, sure.
Can I ask him a question? Sure.
why does the value of the baby change in the way it's conceived?
Separation from the mother. I mean, and there is, I mean, a medical from a medical standpoint.
I read that in the comments.
What?
I said you read that in the comments because I was arguing with somebody in the comments about it, and they said, "Well, then the baby's being separated from the mother." So this is the thing.
I'm sorry, I'm not listening. Trust me, I'm not looking. My phone is. I'm not looking at my phone.
Yeah, I'm sorry to see.
So anyway, I would say that separation from the mother, but not like that completely in terms of when a baby is feasible for life on its own, which is why we have certain medical, we've implemented certain milestones in a female's pregnancy to determine when a fetus is able to live on its own. And that's why we have certain parameters as to when the fetus can be terminated. Right? Which just that doesn't answer his question. Decades. I'm sorry. Yeah. Wait. I'm sorry. Please. I might have missed your question. What was the question?
Yeah. So when does the value change? How the fetus was conceived?
Oh, he's asking you what the morally relevant difference is from a fetus conceiving grave versus a fetus not conceiving grave. Like, let's say God was and I wasn't. Let's say God is less worthy valuable than we're not worthy of the same.
I guess.
I don't know how he doesn't die.
I understand taking out how it sets it. I understand.
Let's say you were conceived in the grave and I wasn't. Are you less valuable than me? Are you culpable for the grave? Is there some sort of difference in your ontological position?
Oh, because
You got cocky. I'm not
whether or not that now it's up to the states.
You're dodging the question.
Yeah, that's not.
So wait, I'm trying.
Morally relevant difference. So let's leave legality out of it, right? Let's leave out like the fact that 1362 against 9 of all 9 months, and the rest are somewhere on the spectrum between, right? Let's overtake the 2022 Dominique Jackson overturning of the 1970 Roe case. Let's just say, what is the morally relevant distinction between someone who is conceiving rape, let's just say hypothetically, Don Julio, and then myself, who we say consensually? Is there some sort of differentiator in our moral worth? Yeah, the individual conceived. So let's say, okay, person A is Dawn, person B is Jacob. Dawn was conceived great. I was conceived consensually. Is Dawn worth less than me?
The wife wanted to have a baby. Did they want to get the baby?
How is he not dead?
What does her wanting him to exist have to do with his individual worth? So just to preface this, you understand that giving the grave exception is if that makes any sense. And I mean, I think I'm you understand that even grave, you can just hold that exception so it provides
You're saying grave
Lethal going out.
You can give that exception. You can say, in the case of the grave, you find abortion to be more permissible, you can still be pro-life. It's not like
cases of female needing to make a decision. The fact that she might die or she might have pregnancy, or like just a dead fetus. Yeah, or actually, I'm so sorry, an abortion is the way to do it. You don't. Yeah.
It's narrowly explained. That's good, but
on why that makes you qualified versus
That's fine. The CDC. The CDC specifically doesn't count. The website, I'm sorry. That's not. This is. That's almost everything. No, that's not the CDC. That does not say that. Are you joking? That's what CDC does. Just select the website. Yeah, it should say that. This is in fact the CDC. That's what it says. It says say that one. But for a second, sure. No, it said we're already. That's
Chrissy's asking. So say for example, child is considered rape, and it is okay to kill them now.
Tactical.
Say a child the child can say that you called or the stuff that
I wouldn't have that conversation. And if it only based on it's not my decision, but I'm a dog first.
and be like, okay, yes, I advocate. For you to be a mother to decide others that's not. Like, only a mother can decide. Only person walk.
No, I mean. Yeah, I pulled it up again, but I'm not trying to be so specific. Like, I just like to see the website. Yes, it's directly from the CDC. Yeah, I think that's what that page was. It's directly from the site. I'm not saying that. You can see that it's hard to pull it, but you can really see the beginning. I use that seed I know.
Just to clarify, the CDC definition is the intentional determination of abortion. Pregnancy does not result in live birth. Keep pregnancy from past. Pregnancy from past is to kill the fetus. Dismisses does not result in live birth. One second. So the definition up here on the screen is straight from the CDC. Believe me, so here you get I said it needs to kill the fetus when I was restricted not resulting in live birth. This is the intent of not resulting in live birth. That by itself wasn't necessary to kill the fetus. Where this definition goes on to exclude every form of fetus. This definition excludes loss. These are both different terms for miscarriages. This definition also excludes ectopic pregnancy treatment because that's not uterus. It excludes treatment for attaining products of conception.
CDC is. I 100% I can see that is my definition on the website. I understand. I'm not sure. No, I think you have to go back on that side.
as far as the establishment, it's not just used by the it's also used by ACOG and gynecology. It's used by it's used by institutes of Planned Parenthood. It's also used in increasing universities
I'm reporting this. Go ahead. Really quick, I just want to address the politics and all that goes. Because the appeal to identity, like, just because it's, but the person say that just because it doesn't directly affect you doesn't mean that you can't talk about it and then argue on behalf or against said demographic. Right? That would just be the appropriate. It's presumably we're slaves, right? You argue against slavery, you don't have to walk around or represent. You can't really argumentation for something. So you're saying because for a lot of us here, it doesn't matter that we have. And I agree. I do have an opinion. I have no problem. I'm not trying to rage bait or do anything like that, but at the end of the day, the government telling someone what they can and cannot do, which has been law for decades, it's not up to me. And I should be able to vote, for sure. Do you think the selected service is not in any way you can do with your body as a male? Selected service?
Selective service, the draft.
Oh, wait, so what? The draft is telling me what? You can't
The draft is a law that directly says, hey, if we end up... The draft is a law that directly says, hey, if we end up in a war and we end up needing people...
No, I understand what the draft
is. Military, you have to do this thing with your body whether you want to or not. You have to sign up for the military and go through boot camp and go to war whether you want to or not.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a thing, I think, since we've had a military.
Yeah, well, the point is, the government...
It's very different.
Restricts
bodily autonomy.
All of our bodily autonomy.
Medical, literal procedures done in your body. It's a little bit different. No.
Okay.
It's not. How is it not? How is it? How?
Look, as much as I'd like to entertain this, I do want to go now. I gotta get to sleep. But before I go, Forrest, you were talking about rape, right? Secure comment. How you think, rape is something that... Wait, what?
He said something.
Yeah, you were talking about how rape is, like, something that you think should always be an exception for abortion. I'd just like to present a little bit of info to you. You can fact check this. I highly implore that you do fact check this. And then I'm going to end the live. So, when we compare women that have...
If the Bible tells you okay to do that.
No, I'm saying we don't actually know how the world would have evolved if we didn't have the Bible. Because the Bible is actually very pertinent to our ethical understandings of boundaries and duties and obligations that we have within a society. So when you say, well, the Bible didn't exist, you still believe that it's a mistake, I'm not sure what would have been. The Bible didn't exist.
Engage and destroy the enemy.
I'm not the enemy here. Yeah, morals are objective. These are subjective. That's a different conversation.
What's your True, but
took a shot.
By just strictly what's written in the Bible, no more.
The Bible is all living means to this society. So yeah.
And the Bible is, we should force ourselves to listen to something that may or may not be true. We know mathematics.
May or may not be true. There's more evidence. Well, yeah, but that is and the principle applied to real observation. Yeah, but the only reason why it's real have a mind and listen to it. I really hate that. But you need to understand that mathematics only exists because of our understanding of applied observation. That's the only reason why mathematics exists, right? But there's more evidence. Yeah, there's more evidence through applied observations as to why the big current with history. Is mathematics really? Yeah, again. What I mean, are they And that's fundamentally, I would see that as problematic. So when what was the P that I needed? It interrupts every now, yeah.
Everybody.
Can you explain it more? I don't understand what you're.
Play by Carlos Santana. Needs to be true. Can you prove it needs to be true? Statement or okay, what's hypocritical that I've seen? Are you going to interrupt me?
fact that you could.
No, I'm just waiting for you to actually say something intelligent that contains with any of the arguments that I made. What have you made that is an argument against anything that I've said? Are you just gonna cry the entire time that I interrupted you because you were not answering my question? Okay, so what is your contention? What is your contentional argument? Yeah, what is the argument?
The argument is, you don't like being interrupted, but you've done it to me every time.
Oh, Lord Jesus, cry in the comments. Holy shit. And then they want to vote. And they want to vote. They want to have the same rights as men. And they can't comprehend jack shit what's being said to them. It's just insane. Lord Jesus. Hello?
Yo, what's up?
What's up? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I like both of these, but I think number one kind of goes against scripture.
Okay, what scripture does it go against?
So the Bible says that we're not supposed to force Christianity.
Come on, girl, keep chugging. What happened? Come on, girl.
We're the big four of new metal. Wait. So a few weeks ago, I posted this video and everything was going great.
I was inside your living room, the only difference is I got the balls to say it in front of y'all, and I arms are heavy as vomit on this sweater already. I promise to never go back on the tongue. In fact, let's these country pills. Take back to
Search and destroy. Move in and detonate the target.
Wawa's $5 big breakfast deal gets 20 cents for any coffee and a hash brown for $5. Got out of Wawa.
This season, you have places to go, people to see, and things to do. You may have already gotten vaccinated for flu and...
The word cannon was originally a Hebrew Greek word which meant cane or measuring rod. This word was later adopted by Christians as a way of evaluating the legitimacy of certain chapters and books. Those that were canon were accepted into the faith, while others were rejected. These decisions were primarily made during multiple councils at Nicaea. Now, when trying to apply canon to Dragon Ball, we always run into roadblocks. This is because canon evolves within itself and follows its own path, as you will see in today's
Ball Z and the Dragon Ball franchise as a whole, which you can see over on my channel if you haven't seen yet. This is going to be in many ways a follow-up to that, in which I'm going to be taking a look and examining another timeline, one that we never really saw play out on screen in the franchise, and that would be the unseen timeline. So when everything started, of course, there was the original timeline. However, what happened to the initial timeline that the original Trunks went back in time and tried to ensure that it would have a brighter future than the Dark One that he had seen in his own time? Well, let me get into that right now. And as I mentioned before, you can check out my video about what happened in the original timeline, as well as a number of other videos that are currently on my channel, just by clicking on the channel button down below, or of course on the end screen of this video. But let's get to the very first part of this, which is the initial explanation of the existence of this timeline, which is when Cell showed up and explained it. So this part is actually a little bit ironic considering what happens in the unseen timeline, but I'll be getting into that momentarily. So basically, as for the existence of the unseen timeline, we were first told this in the Dragon Ball story when Cell emerged from underneath the ground and started to absorb everyone in Ginger Town. Piccolo, of course, showed up to try and fight him, and what ended up happening? Well, Cell explained when Piccolo was faking that he was weakened, that his full backstory, essentially. He states that when he woke up in the future, he started to absorb human life. However, they weren't enough for him to become perfect. He needed to be able to merge with, to absorb Dr. Giro's other creations of Android 17 and 18 to become perfect. But when I was activated in the future, numbers 17 and 18 were gone. I don't know how, defeated by Trunks perhaps. But luckily, Trunks had the time machine. I killed him, took it, and came here looking for numbers 17 and 18. So, the Trunks that Cell killed is the original Trunks. That is the Trunks that went back in time to save another time. This is something that is confirmed because of the fact that what happens here is that Cell explains that Trunks had already programmed the time machine to go to the year that Cell ended up in, and Piccolo speculates that Trunks probably wanted to come tell them that he was able to destroy the androids in the future. So, in that particular timeline, Trunks had already gone back in time to another timeline that we didn't see and proceeded to save it, seemingly. So that is the unseen timeline. But how do events actually play out in that timeline? Well, they play out just like everything that we had seen in the main storyline up to a certain point. In that particular story, what ended up happening was that Goku had his entire journey with Bulma and all of his friends, gathering them along the way, eventually making his way to Namek after he had learned that same heritage and they needed the Dragon Balls because of the attack of the Saiyans. He fought and defeated Frieza, and then Frieza showed up on the Earth. And just like in the original, or just like in the main timeline that we see taking place, what ended up happening here? Well, in the original timeline, in the history of Trunks timeline, what happened was that Goku actually showed up and killed the androids. I actually have a video over on my channel that you could check out, in which I explain how future Goku actually was able to defeat King Cold and Frieza in that timeline. So you can definitely check that out. But in terms of that, we're never actually shown on screen in anime or manga. However, the fight that we actually were shown was that future Trunks showed up. The original Trunks, in this case, being in the original timeline, everything played out the exact same way that we see right here, to our knowledge, which is that the original Trunks went back in time to this unseen timeline. He proceeded to fight Frieza, cut him up into pieces, blow him away, and then killed his father, King Cold. And then, of course, he went to meet Goku, tell him about everything that occurred, give him the heart virus medication after he had arrived on the Earth, and everything basically played out the exact same way that we see it on screen. Eventually, what would happen is that androids 19 and 20 would show up ready to fight the Z Fighters. However, things started to change around that time, in particular around this point, as we can see right here, where Z Fighters had been defeated by the androids. Krillin finds out exactly what was going on there, and then they explain that they're doing this all for a game, that they want to try and find Goku themselves because that'll make things a lot more fun, and they fly off into the distance. At this point, Piccolo goes to try and unite with Kami so that he could defeat the androids. However, After this point, everything is kind of uncharted territory because of the fact that the reason why Kami and Piccolo unite is actually not because of the androids. Because as you can see right here, what Kami ends up saying when Piccolo wants to unite with him to defeat them is that to see if these androids are really harmful to the Earth. He wants to wait because, as you can see right here, Piccolo says, "Look what they did to us," and Kami says, "You started the fight, and even then, they didn't kill you." Yes, and I heard that these androids are slightly different from those that Future Trunks knew. And so basically, he wanted to wait at this point to see how it played out with the androids and not in turn fuse with Piccolo. It was only when we end up seeing the emergence of another character, with that being Cell, as you can see right here, that Kami had actually witnessed everything that was going on. As you can see right here, he was watching everything take place, and then in turn let Piccolo unite with him so that they could fight the even greater growing threat of Cell that we see here. However, in the timeline, none of this actually happened. In the unseen timeline, Cell never went back in time. Now, a lot of people may be confused by that because you can see right here what ends up happening is that Cell, when he's explaining everything to Piccolo, I don't love how many manga panels I have up here. No wonder it takes me forever to find this stuff. Cell explains that he killed the original Trunks, who had gone back in time and created the second timeline, the unseen timeline, and then stole his time machine to go back in time. So a lot of people think that Cell must have gone back to the unseen timeline and then came to the main one. However, that's actually not true. Cell circumvented everything because of the fact that he actually went back in time to a year before Trunks arrived. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, as we can see right here, Trunks actually explains when he finds the time machine lab. He says that the time machine came from 3 years further in the future from when he left, and it came to about 4 years ago, which is 1 year before Trunks originally traveled back in time, as he says right here. What that means is that Cell actually circumvented the unseen timeline by going back further than Trunks did and created the main timeline. He also created this alternate variant of Future Trunks that we see throughout the story, who is the one that defeated King Cold and Frieza in the main timeline. Because of the fact that he went back to before that Trunks would have arrived, thus in turn being in the past of that future time traveler, and then in turn creating that whole other branching reality where Trunks encountered Cell and then learned about him and went back in the future with that knowledge and made it so that he could kill Cell and stop that whole loop, as we could see right here from
1 minute remaining.
All right. Hopefully your minds haven't turned to scrambled eggs right now. I know that it's very complex. It is time travel after all. So because Cell never came back in time to the unseen timeline, that means that everything that Cell's involvement leads to, in turn, would have caused other things to not occur. So like, for example, what wouldn't have happened? Well, one of the big things that may not have happened has to do with Kami and Piccolo, as I said before, merging into the nameless Namekian, fighting against Cell, and then eventually not just fighting against Cell, but also the fight between Piccolo and Android 17. It's entirely possible that this fight never played out. However, let's see that the fight did in fact play out. Again, I do have another video over on my channel in which I talked about if Piccolo fought against Android 17, who would have won if Cell never interrupted that? That's one of those great interrupted fights that we never really saw a conclusion to. So I went in depth with that in that video as well. However, the thing is that this fight may have never happened at all because Piccolo may have never actually merged with Kami, which would have then in turn led to him being able to battle against 17, because up until the point that 17 maybe would have theoretically fought against Goku or somebody, or proven that he was a massive threat to the planet, like the future variants of him in 18, then Kami never would have used Piccolo and allowed this entire situation to play out. Now, furthermore, another thing that may not have happened is that the characters entered into a hyperbolic time chamber or room of spirit and time. Now, why is that exactly? Well, one of the reasons for that is because the fact that, again, Cell is one of the people who prompted this. It wasn't just that Trunks and Vegeta learned of the power of the androids firsthand and how strong they were, but instead Vegeta saw just how strong Piccolo was and how he was far more powerful, as you can see right here, than Vegeta as a Super Saiyan, which is another thing that led to Vegeta, losing more of his pride and wanting to train. And then he also finds out about Cell, and then he gets to this point where he's saying the Super Saiyan is supposed to be the most powerful being in existence, and here they're outdoing us left and right. It's maddening. Don't you agree, Kakarot? And speaking of Kakarot, speaking of Goku right here, during everything taking place, as Goku says right when he wakes up, which I'll pull up right now, he actually says that he heard everyone talking in his dream, and he has a good idea of what's going on. Something terrible happened again, and that he knows that if Vegeta isn't able to win, he can't either. And so he's going to transcend the Super Saiyan. He's going to, as he says momentarily, he's going to go into a room where he could spend a year and train to his absolute maximum limit in a single day on the outside, which is the room of spirit and time, the time chamber, as many people would like to call it. At this point, he goes and he talks to Vegeta, who is training mentally in order to try and see beyond the Super Saiyan, and then train with him in the hyperbolic time chamber, or rather have him train with Trunks, and then have Gohan train with Goku. However, the thing is that, as we're seeing right here, this may have never actually happened. Instead, it's possible that Goku and Vegeta maybe went about doing something different in order to defeat the androids, or maybe Trunks is the androids instead. The way that he would have done that is when him and Krillin actually went to Dr. Giro's laboratory. And once there, this is where Trunks found the blueprints for the androids. And he was able to, in turn, wipe out the cell that was still in here along with Krillin in order to stop it from being born in the main timeline, and then in turn having to face that threat again. Of course, this is also what led to Krillin being able to utilize the remote shutdown device. This was something that Bulma had created along with Dr. Brief after getting those schematics so that they would be able to take out the androids. Now, it's heavily speculated that this is the reason why Trunks was actually able to defeat the androids in the future. And this is something that Cell even speculates on when he and Piccolo were speaking, as you could see momentarily. He actually explains that they were defeated by Trunks somehow, and then he speculates on not too long.
I know everything about you, so YouTube gives me my data and my audience.
After that, he may have utilized the remote shutdown device in order to do that. So, as a result,
Marvel and DC
it's entirely possible that what many fans speculate for years that Trunks learned the remote shutdown devices in the past, used them to kill the androids in the unseen timeline, and then went to his future and killed those ones that way. However, the problem that arises is the main reason why Trunks went to the laboratory and found the blueprints that made that remote shutdown device is because of the fact that, again, Cell showed up in the past. So he was Trunks somehow. And then he speculates he may have utilized the shutdown device. So, as a result, it's entirely possible that many things speculated years the remote shutdown device in the past, use them to kill the androids in the unseen timeline, and went to his future and killed those ones that way. However, the problem
It's the part I was talking about. It's like, how do you find it? I've seen this video many times.
It's because of the fact that, again, the cells showed up in the past. So it's alerted to the fact that there was another bunker underneath the laboratory, which is where Cell was, and that's led him to go to that bunker talked about in another video about the Sony Plus, where I discussed how Trump's the original Androids here. It's possible that actually what happened is that Trunks went into a time chamber with Vegeta and thus in turn he and the other Z fighters were able to become powerful enough to defeat the androids. Because the thing is that they still needed to train hypothetically to defeat the androids, especially if they didn't know about this other it's likely that Vegeta and Goku would have continued to train after this point, and Trunks defeat the androids using the shutdown device.
It actually goes with
the androids have been destroyed, so the question becomes what exactly happened after this movie. Well, despite the fact that there are different variations of materials that state that Cell actually did have a series at some point in that same timeline, I don't think it made any sense because, again, as I mentioned, Cell back. However, that does leave the question about Cell being concept. Because the fact that Trunks never knew about Cell, and thus as a result of that variation, it's incubating this period past, as a result of Cell still exists in that same time. So talk about yet another video, which is about villains that are still alive in our timeline. It's about Cell. Here. Also talked about why Cell's the best villain. Check that out. There's so many cards I can put in one video, guys. So the fact of the matter is that Cell likely is still, incubating in that pod and eventually would be able to get out, assuming that nobody ever found the underground bunker and destroyed it. Which means that, Cell eventually will wake up in the unseen timeline and seek to absorb Android 1718, who either are alive after they were defeated by the Z fighters who decided to spare them using force, or will then destroy them. However, in the unseen timeline, if they get destroyed, then this means that Cell will never be able to get that way and just absorbing a bunch of humans whenever nobody knows to perfection. So he might be able to train, he might be even vastly more powerful. This is in perfect state because of the fact that, for all we know, Majin Buu, Bobby, and Deborah show up, and then Dr. Gero's little sample data from that, sample data from Beerus, and then other beings that show up on the planet at the time. You can imagine Cell with all of those, divine beings in their cells responding to him as well. That would only be something that, even without perfection, would be insanely powerful, and then for all we know, maybe Cell could find a way to go to one of the other timelines and absorb those androids, or maybe he could find the Dragon Balls and wish back the Android 1718 and then absorb them and become the ones. There's a lot of possibilities for what could have happened. However, one of the issues is that if Cell never arrived in the original timeline, then that means all the characters would be weak, because even though Goku, Gohan, Trunks, and Vegeta could train in the time chamber, they probably wouldn't have trained anywhere near as long or as intensely to defeat the androids comparative to Cell. So as a result, that means that they would all be and Goku would no doubt still be alive because of the fact that he would need to sacrifice himself in order to defeat Cell, in order to have make Cell destroy the planet. And as a result, he would still be alive. It would be 7 years later when theoretically show up, Bobby and Deborah show up to try and get the energy for Majin Buu. So that opens up a can of worms with Z fighters he need to defeat Deborah and everyone else is comparable to Cell, and that means, they've had a much more difficult time as we saw the Trunks and Dragon Ball Super. It really leaves open a lot of questions, because let's say that happens, and maybe in this case they would be able to stop Majin Buu from being resurrected because of the fact that they wouldn't have needed to have that entire situation play out. Because Goku and Vegeta still would have gotten saved in years. I'm sure they would have fought at least once during that time period. Goku knew that because he was always ahead of Vegeta and stuff like that series. And as a result, I'm sure that Vegeta probably would have become more civilized, and maybe he would have teamed up alongside Goku, not really needing the Majin Boost at that point, and the other Z fighters and defeated,
Crossing stop!
Yes, and 50% more lotion to soothe sensitive noses.
Minions of Bobby before Majin Buu was weakened. I'm sure it's a great concept show. Try and get them to get Spoon. But I feel like things would turn out a lot differently in that case, and it's a question of what happened, especially with the Dragon Ball Super. I figure that things would probably play out relatively the same way. Characters would be weaker, but they would still get significant training, and if that difference in strength at that point in the series would really make a difference, well, I'm sure it would play out. Maybe in a much darker scenario, if that's the case, where the races they lose the tournament power, maybe Universe 6 and 7 in small places, so many things are left open. So that's what happened in the Unseen. Things played out pretty much exactly the same way, up until when Cell would have gone, which means that because Cell wasn't there, characters would have played things out differently, shut down twice, or at least the characters who defeated them wouldn't be as powerful as they were in the main timeline, as obviously they would also be trained to Cell. And there's other possibilities that could happen in Saga with things like Dragon Ball Super. So let me hear your thoughts down below. Let's have the idea of what you think might happen. It's a question of whether or not Toei will ever predict Cell come back again. This time as the real Cell, even though he and which I also talked about in my video where I reviewed Dragon Ball Super channel. Check that out. Also, make sure to like, share. Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in the Cell Saga of Dragon Ball Z, we learned that there were a number of different timelines in the story, all of which fractured off initially from the original timeline, where everything was to place in the universe. However, what exactly happened in the original timeline? What was its main comprehending the Cell Saga, and initially, what ended up happening after that? Well, let's get into that topic right now. So in the original timeline of Dragon Ball, everything played out exactly the same way. Initially, of course, we had everything taking place where Goku and Bulma, and she explained to him the Dragon Balls. Of course, before this, we had the events that led to Goku being on the planet in the first place, where Frieza destroyed planet Vegeta, and initially, everything transpired the same way up throughout the course of the story. Goku and all his different friends, they teamed up together for different adventures, going around the world, gathering Dragon Balls, making wishes. Eventually, Goku would also go on to fight Piccolo Jr., marry Chi-Chi, fly off into the distance, and eventually have Goku. And then everything else in Dragon Ball Z after this point took place the same as it did initially up until the point again. Goku fought against Frieza on Namek, he was the one who defeated him, and then eventually Frieza showed up on the Earth with his father King Cool, ready to enact revenge upon Goku by wiping out all the Earth right here, and by the time Goku comes, they think they'll be able to wipe him out. So everything played out exactly the same way that we see it on screen in Dragon Ball Z until this point right here, where Trunks questions the Joneses did to the source of future Trunks, in fact, enters the story. Now, the reason for this is because the fact that in the original timeline there was no time travel. As a result, there was no event in which somebody went back from the timeline, came back in time to defeat King Kong and Frieza, as Trunks would go on to do. Rather, the original timeline and the history of Trunks timeline, what happened was Goku showed up on the planet using his instant transmission and defeated both King Kong and Frieza himself. Trunks did not show up to fight them out. Goku is the one who did this instead. And this is something that he actually explains to Trunks in the story, that he was prepared to make his move and use the instant transmission in order to wipe out King Kong and Frieza, and Trunks intervened and unnecessarily changed timelines regarding this. However, after this point, everything played out in the original timeline in a very similar way to, not exactly the same way as it did in future Trunks' time. Goku would go on to die, and the androids would show up and wipe out all of the Zeus, except, of course, this would leave Trunks, the original Trunks, and the original Gohan, as we see here in the story, training, fighting. Trunks in the manga, of course, had already become Super Saiyan before the events of Gohan's death. But the two of them were fighting together, trying to be able to eventually take out the androids. And what happened at this point? Gohan, he got frustrated, he got really angry seeing the Trunks he was committed to the androids. So he knocked out Trunks with
Already Day. It's the most anticipated match of the entire season. Fans filling to their seats, already being bombarded with jeers from the opposition fans sitting just a section away. There's no two ways about it. If you support a team, you have a rival. And for as long as you can remember rooting for your team, you also remember rooting